Here's the lowdown. Death sucks. It sucks. And it doesn't matter whether you're a Christian or a non-Christian. It sucks. You are taking somebody who either had a huge impact in your life, a little impact, or they're gone. They're gone in the blink of an eye. And I'm bringing this up because I have a young man who just lost his father. And it tears me up inside because I've counseled people during this time, and I have seen both good responses and bad responses to everything. And so I'm telling you right now, this is how I would counsel somebody going through it, somebody experiencing the loss. And to those of you who haven't, I'm counseling you here as well. And I would say, make sure that if you know this time is coming up, this time of death is coming up, if you know that this time of death is coming up, extend forgiveness with that person. Extend forgiveness. Ask for forgiveness. You may not even remember, and they may say, "Oh, I have nothing against you." Extend the forgiveness, because this is a burden that you don't want to carry. You don't want to have the, "I wish I had said this," or, "Oh, I wish I had asked for that." Because that's a burden you're going to carry and you're not going to be able to get back. So even if they aren't aware of you, you still go and you say your piece. It doesn't condemn them, doesn't destroy them, but what it does is restore your relationship so that those of us who live on don't have to carry that burden and avoid all those regrets. And then I'm going to counsel those of us surrounding them. There's not many or not much words you can say to somebody in pain. They have to process, they have to grieve, they have to do all this. And I have seen and I have heard testimony after testimony of people who have come up to the grieving widow, the grieving husband, children, and said, "If your faith had only been better, they would have been healed. If you had only prayed harder, they would have been healed." Basically, what this is saying, it's all your fault. And you didn't pray enough. You didn't have faith great enough to see a miracle of God. And that is not helpful. That I would almost say that equates to the Peter and Jesus conversation where he says, "Get behind me, Satan." Because Peter was impeding the will of God. And it doesn't equate to, someone's death does not equate to a lack of somebody else's prayer life, faithfulness, or even God's ability to bring that healing about. So I'm going to give you the advice to both to those around the grieving. Keep your mouth shut. Keep your mouth shut. If you say something like that, or if you'd only prayed harder, that's going to destroy any help that you are possibly trying to offer. And for those of us who have been through it, the greatest counsel I can give you is to keep your mouth shut, because you and everybody who has experienced death knows that there are no words to comfort the grieving. It is strictly the presence and being in their presence and just loving them through the presence. People have ways of talking and filling the void, and we just want to fill the void, take away the pain, say something, but chances are the more often we open our mouth, the more opportunity we have to put our foot in it. So just be quiet and keep your mouth shut and let the grace abound. Let your grace abound. They're going through a tough time. They're hurting and trying to process. And it may be a sudden slip into eternity, or it may be a long, gradual fall. But either way, grace needs to abound. And this goes for everybody. Not just those who had a great relationship with their father or mother or relative or whoever, but those who had bad relationships. They are in mourning, and that you have to understand that even if, for example, if I had a bad relationship with my father, the fact is I am still going to mourn. Whether he beat the tar out of me or not, it doesn't matter, because now I am mourning a relationship lost. There is no redemption to the relationship of the father-son, but there's also, I'm mourning of the father that I could have had. And so we have to understand that there is a time for mourning. Allow yourself to mourn. Don't hide. Jesus himself wept, and he wept publicly. Don't hide. Don't stuff these feelings because that's what you feel like you're supposed to do, to be tough. Real strength is allowing yourself to mourn, allowing yourself to weep and be comforted. Because it's the healthiest thing to do. So many times we just want to stuff it down. We want to hide that pain away. And all that does is put more and more pressure into us. And so under the surface, anxiety, frustration, stress, sadness, anger, this all just boils and boils and boils until finally one day it just blows up. And the best way to address it is to address it when it happens, heal when it happens, and then move on. Don't carry these burdens with you. Don't carry the anger, the sadness with you. And for those of us seeing the weeping, what do? Offer that shoulder to cry on. Offer that grace that you know God has extended to us in these situations. If it's a non-believer, I believe that God was going after them up until the last minute and they chose. So don't go around saying, well, he was a non-believer, he's in hell now, because that may not be the truth. No need to offer these platitudes that you can't confirm. And I think the best thing you can do to witness to a non-Christian is to show them God's grace, God's love in this moment of time, being there for him, allowing them to feel a comforting presence. So love and care for them. Be silent. Demonstrate God's love to them. And so for this young man who lost his father was a professing believer. This young man is a professing believer. So he will see his father again. But the same can't be said for a non-Christian. And this just stresses death stresses the importance of life eternal, of following Jesus, seeking out God. Because especially if it's a loved one whom we have such great memories, we don't want to think about an eternity without them. So this is why we stress to push the Lord, to minister to people, to witness to people about the Lord. Because if you don't want to be separated from them for eternity, imagine a God who cannot love you any more than he already loves you right now, missing out on them for eternity, on you for eternity. It is so important. And to drive that home, here's this verse. It's so known, but it's also so often taken for granted. John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. For God did not send his Son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world through him might be saved. He doesn't want death. He didn't send his Son so that people would die. He sent his Son so that they would be restored to life eternal. And so I'm telling you right now, for a non-Christian, somebody who denies Christ, death is final. That's it. It's hell. And I'm not here to scare anyone. I'm not here to make anybody fear God and fear death so they convert to Jesus. Because I grew up in a church like that. I'm here to preach and to tell you about life. Life beyond this mortal coil. Life beyond this mortal shell. A life so fulfilling, a love so fulfilling, a grace and mercy so filling that I can't put it into words. Death sucks, guys. Death sucks. And death is final. But life in Christ is eternal.